Biblical marriage. Biblical marriage is quite different than your traditional so-called quote-unquote civil authority religious marriage, which they cross-pollinate stuff. Here's some facts right here. Do you know that the same marriage, look at this word right here, license, that you go out and you get and you call yourself married under God. Now you got to figure out what God that is because the God of the Bible, the creator of the universe, he only honors and recognizes his laws. God is not under the authority of the United States of America, Great Britain, Africa, China, Russia, or any other country in this world. And that's, it seems to be the hardest thing that people are finding a difficult time to understand, comprehend, and receive. Yahweh has his own laws, his own statutes and commandments. And while we are here in exile to him, he expects for us to obey them and keep his commandments if we are his people. Now, the trouble and the issue is people cross-pollinating stuff. You go out here and you get a marriage license by the state, and you get the same marriage license and go to the same place that the homosexuals, the people of transgender, you get the same thing. And according to scripture tells you that you ought to make no agreements and no contracts and no covenants with the people of this land. And instead of accepting that as truth and you actually doing your due diligence and going and checking it out, you'd rather be offended. And it's easier for you to believe your lying preacher who talks tough behind a pulpit, who talks tough behind a camera, who screams and hollers and acts like that he is some type of a man, but he will never get out and face a man concerning these subjects because they don't want these truths to enter into your ears. They know that you are not going to go and look behind these words and study these words to see if what he is saying is so, because a lot of people are not preaching truth. They're preaching church tradition. There's a difference between the two. The Most High Yah does not recognize and honor church tradition. He honors the truth. And what people do is they use Yahshua, they use Jesus as a selling point to promote their religion. But on close examination, you find out that a lot of things that you people believe out there, it has nothing to do with the Bible whatsoever at all. It's just another Roman church, another Roman tradition. I'll give you an example. The Sabbath day. Is it the seventh day or the first day? Go read it for yourself. Because if I tell you, and you already are not accustomed to study, you're going to be opposed to what I'm saying. More than anything, you're going to be opposed to Scripture. Because the Scriptures, both Old and New Testament, does not even speak about a first day rest. It just doesn't do that. It only speaks about a 7-day rest. That's it. Marriage. That's what this particular video is about. You'll get people out there over and over again talk about marriage as if they have a monopoly on the truth of it and really comprehend and understand. Let me tell you something about the unchangeable Elohim of the scriptures. My father, and some of you are falsely claiming him to be your father, Abraham, of the faith, had more than one woman and multitudes of children by these women. Now, you got to ask yourself a question. Did God know that? Did he know that? Or was it something that he was kind of missing? Or does he have a different belief system than what America and his Roman cultural society purports? You know Moses? You ever heard of Moses? Well, before we go to Moses, you ever heard of Jacob, right? I'm sure you heard of Jacob, right? See, it never enters into your mind that the patriarchs of the Israelites, the Hebrew people, the real Hebrew people that are scattered throughout this world, throughout this diaspora, it was just the norm for a man to have more than one woman. It was a norm. But then you get over here a monogamous pagan satanic Rome society who promotes nothing but monogamy, all of a sudden you assume that you're right because that's what you choose to believe. But you cannot get your theologians, your preachers, your lying teachers, your so-called prophets, your pastors, all of them. I'm telling you, man, I'll see it all the time. They talk tough behind that pulpit. And they sound so confident and good. And they actually even use the scriptures and wrestle them to their own destruction. They twist and warp the scripture, but they don't never want to get across from somebody who knows what they're talking about, that will open up your understanding so that you have an understanding of the word. And no matter how much we say that Yah doesn't change, no matter how much we say that, and no matter how many times we say that, man, some way, somehow, they have convinced you that he is not the same. And then by the time you get finished with translations and by the time you get finished with them, the Europeans in certain words to try to make the word to fit their culture, don't you know what the prophecy of the book says? If any man takes away from any words of the prophecy of this book, then the Most High is going to take away his name out of the Lamb's book of life. And you had people do this without any fear whatsoever at all. And they mess with your mind. And now they got you calling the thing which is righteous, just, and true an abomination. And you look silly, you look stupid and ignorant and dumb to be sitting up here fighting and wrestling against what Yah has already substantiated as the culture for his people. And mind you, we're supposed to be the people that's supposed to minister to the nations, not the nations ministering to us. You can't be ministering to no Israelites or anybody in truth when you are keeping Sunday and Easter and you don't even understand biblical marriage according to scripture. You don't even get it. Jacob, the progenitor of the 12 tribes of Israel, brought forth 12 sons by 4 women. Moses, the custodian of the law, had 3 women, 3 of them. By the time you get to Gideon, by the time you get to Elkanah, by the time you get to Solomon, by the time you get to David, and when you go 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 8, the Most High Yah said himself that if David would have wanted more, he would have given it to him. In other words, David, you didn't have to go take Uriah the Hittite's wife. If you wanted more to give it to you, you already got enough. I mean, man, you already got man. And even at that, if you wanted more, I would have given it to you. But all those passages are ignored. So then you get over the New Testament when it says the bishop must be the husband of one wife. Is that what the real, true Texas Receptus in the Greek, the real, true translation of that word is? Is that what it really truly says? Because, you know, when you go over to Acts chapter 12, verse 4, it tells you that they intended until after Easter. But if that's the truth, and if we follow the law of line upon line, precept on precept, out of the mouth of 2 or more witnesses, every word shall be established. Why is the word presented in the whole entire Bible, Easter, one time, and you got 80% of Christendom or 90% of Christendom celebrating this thing called Easter, and it's only presented at one time? But when you go look behind that word that's presented to you in English, it says Pescha, which means Passover. But 28 times in the New Testament is the word Passover mentioned, and it's totally ignored. Why? Why is it totally ignored? And you have to understand, Jesus said, you're going to be hated of all men for my name's sake. In other words, if you're going to follow after me in this regeneration, you're going to follow me in this righteousness, in this truth, you prepare yourself for hate, because you're going to experience the same hate. And you're going to get the same taste from this cup as I have. So you put all these facts out there. Again, your preachers know that most of you just going to sit up there and agree with traditional church doctrine that they preach, because they know you ain't going to never go and look behind the words that presented to you in English. Does it really mean one? Because you have grown up in this society and understand what one was? What is that word truly? Go look it up in the Greek. Go see what other translations that said when they took out that word one and translated the proper way. You're going to be surprised. What you're going to experience if you are a man and woman of truth is you're going to be angry. You're going to be mad as hell that people have been playing mental gymnastics with you. that they have purposely deceived you. And many of you out there are under a religious tyrannical system. And most of you, they know that you're not going to move because you're too afraid to separate from your family, who you think is your family. The family of Yah is different than your natural family. Jesus said in Matthew 10, don't you think not that I come to send peace on earth. I didn't come to send peace, but I come to send a sword. For I come to set a man at variance against his father, a mother against her daughter, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's own foes shall be they of his own household. Remember, that which is born of flesh, it is flesh, but that which is born of spirit is spirit. A lot of y'all natural family members, y'all hanging on to these pagans and these heathens, and they're going to hang you right on into the eternal lake of fire. Because your family ain't y'all's family. My natural family, I ain't got none of them that deal with me in any kind of way. Because they knew me as a little boy growing up. And what did Jesus say? A prophet is not without honor except in his own country amongst his own people. They're not going to sit and listen to me. But somebody else does. Many people do. And I guarantee you my spiritual condition is a hell of a lot better. And then I'm in a better place than they have ever been. I'm telling y'all, the acid tests are the ones who are actually obedient to the word. No, you may not agree with me right now, but if you go and check out what I'm saying, you're going to find out if you have the spirit of truth in you. Wait a minute, this man has told you the truth. Yeah, I love you enough to tell you the truth, which other people, they say they do, but they won't do it. Why don't y'all go challenge your preachers and say, hey man, why y'all keep talking about this man right here? And why is he always in your mouth? And why you making insinuations about him? You scream and holler, you buck up behind the pulpit, you stick out the little 2 hairs on your chest. But when he calls you out, all of a sudden you mute. What happened to the man? What happened to the dog in the man? What happened to the man? What about all these people say they mix it up and all this old other stuff? Huh? And whatever happened to the people, if you really truly are so confident in what you believe, I like in the world, put your money where your mouth is. As this world say, I've learned this new term, and I guess that makes men feel like they man. I just learned a damn thing. We ain't ducking no smoke. My man, people are ducking and running from smoke like you wouldn't believe. Nah, I don't even think I know how to run from fear. Because many, many times in my life, I faced fear. You can't do nothing about it. And death. What can you do when death is staring at yourself? Look at him right back. When fear is there, shoot, when you jump out of an airplane at 1:30 in the morning and you got 130 something of your buddies on that same plane, or you got 64 on that same plane and you got 300 pounds of gear on you and it's cold and the moon is not illuminating and they open up them doors and it's time to go out, Lord, man, you're going to meet fear. You're going to find out what you are. There's a lot of things. You got bullets whistling by your head. You're going to find out that a lot of people out here who think they so tough, wait till fear come to their front door. And remember, the fear man bringeth a snare. So a lot of these people, I'm telling you, they are tough. I've seen it in this generation. Social media. Man, these people will have you to think that they're Conan the Barbarian, Hercules, Thor. They will have you to think that they are Samson. They would have you to think, man, that they are King David themselves when it comes to courage. Man, he's a bunch of cowards today. That's just a flat out truth. Not only are they cowards naturally, but they cowards spiritually because they don't want as much as they open up their mouth. Now they're not bringing out no challenges no more because somebody's going to hear it and call them on their crap. And you're going to find out that these little bitty men, these smurfs out here, they're not who they purport themselves to be. All they are is people with words, including the big ones. There's some big ones out there. There's some big old fat ones out there that are definitely cowards. All they have is words, and that's all you ever see. You go look at their work, and you find out what they really truly about. Love not in word, but in deed. You'll find out what people are all about. Check out what they do. By their fruits, you shall know them. People will deceive you with good words and fair speeches, but man, learn how to start checking folks out. Check them out, not for what they say, but by what they do and by their fruits, what they produce is. You shall know them. Hope it says something to stimulate thought. I know one or two people out of thousands will hear this message, check it out, and get it, research it, and study, and pretty soon you'll become seeing about it. The 1,000 you that will reject this message, don't worry about it. They did the same thing like that in Noah's day too. Can you imagine how many people got wore out from hearing the message of Noah after 120 years? Then when that first raindrop come out of the sky, boy, it changed their perspective then, didn't it? Kind of hard to believe when so many people are used to going with the cattle mentality, you know, the way that the herd goes. Man, I only hope I've been able to try to put some type of defibrillator on your mind and you get it. Y'all blessed day. King coming.